Welcome to Let's Get Tender, Money Conversations That Matter, a video podcast series with certified money coach Marlene Elizabeth, with amazing weekly guests who share their inner challenges, personal triumphs, and inside tips and strategies so you can prosper, lead, and love bravely in business and life. So get comfy and get ready to grow money with you.
Hi everyone, I am so excited for our guest today. I'd love for you to welcome to the show Maria Tomas Keegan. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you so much, Marlene. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, I am so excited and so honored that you've taken time out of your busy schedule to be with us today to talk about money. But before we get started, I would love to just share with our viewers a little bit about who you are. So, as we all know, life can turn us upside down without warning, and it often happens at the most inopportune times. Navigating the change that comes with major life events can cause us to question not only who we are, but where we're headed. Well, helping turn your world right side up again is the specialty of Maria. She's a certified career and life coach, and she specializes in transition for women. Her new book, Upside Down to Right Side Up, Turning Transition into Triumph, is just one way that she shares her experience and her strategies. So again, I'm just so excited to chat with you today, Maria.
Thanks again, Marlene.
So one of the questions that I really enjoy asking my guests right as we get started is, what is your first memory of money?
This is not my favorite subject to talk about. And I had a hard time coming up with a specific memory. So what I did come up with, though, is that kind of a sense, a feeling, an atmosphere perhaps around money as I was growing up. So we heard things like most kids my age heard: money doesn't grow on trees, and it's hard to make money, but it's very easy to spend it. So we need to keep our money, and we have to save for a rainy day. Those are the kinds of things that I grew up hearing. So I didn't have a great feeling about money. I thought it was maybe a necessary evil.
That's so. And do you remember any? So you're saying there's not one specific memory. It's more just kind of a feeling that you have about this connection with money, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I called it an atmosphere because that's what it feels like. It's this overriding sense about money and what it, that it is, we need it, but it's not a good thing.
And so, are there any types of limiting beliefs around money or money fears that you have been able to discover that have prevented you from really fulfilling your financial potential?
Something came up for me relatively recently. So I've spent 30 plus years in corporate America, working for someone else, working for a paycheck, and saving some of that paycheck as I was taught to do, and then spending the rest. But then when my company of almost 20 years, with my last corporate gig, when they divorced me and my entire team and laid us off, I was suddenly without a paycheck coming in, and I had made a decision not to go back and parlay my experience into another corporate gig, but to start my own business. And there was this nagging feeling in the back of my head, and actually it was not just in the back of my head, it was kind of centered pretty heavily on my chest, that there won't be enough. And for a long time, that caused me to chase money, to chase clients, so that I could make money. And we all know that that's just not the way it happens, especially when you're doing the kind of coaching that I'm doing, which is on very sensitive subjects around transition.
You know, and I want to say too that, first of all, I just thank you so much, because you did say right at the beginning that money is not a comfortable conversation for you to have, and you're not alone. And so I really want to thank you, and I appreciate that, even just that courage to talk about it, because, you know, even though like I have an 11-year-old daughter, and I'm always trying to share with her lessons that I've learned in life. You know, we sometimes have to do what we don't want to do, but even though we're tempted to go around and under and above, but if we really want to get to the other side and really reach our goals and our dreams, we have to go through. And in your case, it sounds like you didn't want to go back to corporate. You wanted to become an entrepreneur, and you have this background feeling around money, that money's a necessary evil. So this is a pretty big deal, because you're taking this brave step now to become an entrepreneur, and business is about money coming in, flowing out. And so you're trying to grapple with this, it sounds like, of this really key piece of being an entrepreneur, which is brave.
Yeah. And if somebody had told me what I was in for, I probably would not have made that choice. But I got into it far enough that I love what I do. So I had to figure it out. I had to figure out how the money thing would work.
Mm-hmm. So Maria, what were some brave action steps then that you took to start kind of getting a handle around this topic?
Probably the first thing I needed to do was relax. I needed to stop worrying about and to stop chasing. And just relax and allow it to flow naturally, organically. Intuitively, I knew that clients will come to me when they're ready, and when they trust that I have the solutions for the challenges they face. So I stopped the chasing, and I instead started to share more broadly my point of view around the subjects that I coach on through my speaking, my workshops, my writing, and interviews such as this one. And what happened was, when I started to relax and kind of let it flow, the doors and windows started to open, and I started to be invited in.
And this is powerful, this brave step, because relaxing and letting go is pretty much something that leaves us feeling vulnerable, really. And that's really at the crux. I know, I know in my own life, and in a lot of, the work I do with my clients, we're really talking about allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and to experience that experience of being vulnerable. And that's not easy. That's not easy to do. So, and I know probably, that this is a process that it took you to go from this, worry, and then to just letting go. It was over a period of time, right? It was, right?
Yeah, there's no switch to flip, I learned. I wish there was a switch to flip. But you're right, it's a process. It took time, and it took constant reminding myself that I don't have to be so tense about it. I don't have to be so worried about it. I was in a unique and very blessed situation where when I was laid off, I had a package, a severance package and a retirement package. So it was not like I had nothing. And that started just to settle in, and the old voices that were coming into my head. It was like my father sitting on my shoulder sometimes saying, don't do that. That's risky. Don't spend that money. Don't invest in your business. And I finally had to just kind of decide what I wanted to believe myself, and allow those old beliefs to be put in their place. So, I know that they served me at one point in my life, but I had to choose now whether they serve me now. And I blessed them and released them is what I chose to do.
The image that comes to mind is when we realize that there's a limiting belief or a money fear we have that's really preventing us from reaching our dreams, and we realize it's time to let it go. It reminds me of the movie, and I can't remember what the name of this movie is, but Tom Hanks was in it, and he was he had survived a plane crash, and he was on the island, and the big, it's kind of the popular scene where he ended up embracing a ball, and it was Wilson.
Wilson, yeah, the ball. I remember. What was the name? Castaway.
Castaway, I think it was. That's it. And so I picture that when that ball no longer served its purpose, there was a letting go of that. It was more of a drifting away. It was almost natural. It still hurt and it was still scary, but it was natural. It wasn't a ripping away or anything. It was just, and sometimes that's how I imagine that, as this journey, this conversation around money, it takes us on a journey of really facing more than just the dollars of cents. That's why we say talking about money is so much more than just money. It takes us down a journey of what am I afraid of letting go? What is that about? And it takes us often back to our childhood and different things that, and so and that in itself is a healing process, so that when we go through it, we come out the other side, not only with a more empowered relationship to money, but empowered relationship to many areas of our life, with ourselves, with our loved ones, so many different ways. So definitely rewarding, but it does come with that need to be courageous. And I want to say one more thing too, Maria, because you mentioned this in one of your brave action steps that you took. You started following and trusting your intuition. That is also brave. And I find that as women, often we are caused to second guess our intuition. It can be from a male figure or even a female figure that causes us to say, don't trust what your gut is telling you, in essence, right? But there's truth there.
Yeah, I think you're right. What I find is when there's something I need to let go of, and I finally acknowledge that and trust that that's the right thing to do. One of the things that helps me understand, or not understand, one of the things that helps me move through that is by knowing that I now have room to bring something else in. So when I let something go, it creates a space for something new. And that excites me, and that's kind of how I get through that.
I love that. So would you consider yourself somebody that really enjoys growth, that enjoys change? I mean, overall, or someone that just absolutely just does not like change and likes things to stay just the way they are?
Well, as a as a coach who specializes in transition, I understand that change is inevitable. I personally have learned to embrace it. Because I do believe that's where the growth comes from for most of us. I might say all of us. It's certainly, that's where it happens for me. So yeah, I tend to embrace it.
Oh, I love that. Because I just love that what you shared, recognizing that we're making room for something new. And That's powerful. That's exciting. That is super exciting. So what would you say now is maybe one or two beliefs that you hold around money that you find are much more empowering for you, that really help you to see the opportunities that are in front of you, and that there is plenty of abundance around?
Someone shared a practice with me many years ago now, and I've never forgotten it. It is in some ways been kind of the antithesis of what my father taught me. She taught me to bless and release my money. And she did that by kissing her bills and kissing her checks as she sent them out. And I love that, the idea of that. So I do all of my money transactions electronically. So there's nothing to kiss, but I do record them in a transaction register. And I say a little prayer of gratitude when I'm done each time I'm doing that money transaction stuff. So even when things are a little tight, and I get that way for sure, even when I have to make a transfer from the savings to the checking that I really don't want to have to make, and then there's kind of this little pit in my stomach about having to do that, I still feel grateful for having the wherewithal to be able to do that. So that is a new practice that has kind of changed the way it's kind of empowered me to think about money differently.
Oh my goodness, that is so beautiful. And I especially love that you're sharing that on a show called Let's Get Tender. Because I do find that one of the dynamics that happens in our relationship to money is that once we're able to really be ourselves within that relationship, including our feminine side, that is empowering. And by being able to bless and kiss our money, I mean, I find that that's definitely a very feminine, not that men don't have that as well, but it's something a little different in a feminine way, in our way of looking at money that's balanced. You know, it's a balanced approach to money. And that's beautiful. And it also, I think that's a practice that keeps us free. It keeps us free so that money doesn't have the hold on us, that we're the ones saying, you know, I appreciate you for what you are, and I'm able to receive you and let you go. That's a practice. That's a way of life around money. But there's so much blessings and riches that come from it. Yeah, it really almost keeps money in its place for what it is, and it honors the fact that we are the ones with the power. You know, that's powerful. I love that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it has helped me. It has helped me think about things, about money a little bit differently, and about, as you said, it's having the power. The power rests within me for the going and the coming of money, and that feels really good. That feels really good.
Mm-hmm. It feels more authentic, right? It just feels more authentic. Yeah. And that's that place when we feel in alignment with what we're doing in our actions with money and what our values and beliefs are and what we treasure. When that's all in alignment, that's when I find that flow just happens naturally and everything is, you know, working as it should. But when that's kind of all not in alignment, that's when we kind of start getting stuck along the way. So you've been an entrepreneur now, and you know, we learned a lot. I have experienced this in my own journey as an entrepreneur, that there's lessons I've learned along the way that I've been able to apply also to my relationship with money. So I'm curious, are there some lessons you've learned along the way in your experience as a business owner that you've been able to apply to your relationship with money?
Oh, I think probably the most overriding lesson for me I've already mentioned, and it may be worth mentioning again. It's that idea of learning to relax and stop chasing it, so that I can kind of just go with that flow and be who I am and present myself to the world, and what I do. And just go with the flow. That's probably lesson number one. And the second one is I'm a very spiritual person, and I have learned to reaffirm my faith that when I follow my purpose and stay on that path, that I will succeed at what I'm doing, and I will be a blessing to others. And as that all happens naturally, the money will be there as I need it.
Yes, yes. There's an image that a person I was talking to recently in a conversation around money, she kind of shared something similar to what you were saying, that making that room for spaciousness for the money to come, and by being able to relax, because she was saying something to the effect of, if my fist is so tightly closed as we get, like when there's no room for the money to be in that hand. There's no room for it to, where will it go? Where will it settle? So yeah, that relaxation is so important, whether we're doing it as a business owner or even just, like you said, the practice of keeping our bills. And
I love the image that conjured the story you just told of the tightly closed fist. When it is open, and ready to receive, much more comes. I love that image. I'm going to remember that one.
So what have you learned then to be true about money now on this journey, that if you were to whisper that into your own little self, or even, just some, grandchildren or children, what would you whisper into your ear about what you know now to be true about money that you wish you would have already known back then?
Well, what comes to mind is when I started this business, I had those thoughts that there's not going to be enough. I thought I had to do everything myself. So the thought of having to pay others to help me when I wasn't yet making enough money, and it would cost me to pay them. I thought I can't do that, and I heard voices. I hear voices all the time. That you can't pay somebody else to do something that you haven't made the money to pay them. But I soon realized that there are things about running a business that are not in my zone of genius. And although I'm a smart woman, I'm very resourceful. I have been in business for a long time. I've seen business run. I know, kind of what it takes, but it's not in my zone of genius. And I really wanted to spend time doing what was. So once I learned that I could cautiously delegate and invest in my business, so that I could bring on a small team who were able to do some of those things that I either wasn't good at or didn't want to do, and it allowed me then to go out and do more of what I am good at and what does bring in business. Then it was a win-win. It was it was one of those things that allowed me to relax.
Yes, this is beautiful, because in the big picture, you're allowing support in to help you increase the work that you do, which then, of course, in turn increases the income you receive, and also increases the ability of what you're able to give out as well. And in the process, you're blessing others as well, because they're getting the opportunity to shine in their gifts and their strengths and earn income in that way. It's just, yes. So, but getting to that point of, it took you that decision, right? Because we're talking about choices, right?
Choices, absolutely. You know, you're right. It's making choices, and it's opening your hand again, rather than clenching it, holding it all together, holding it. You know, I have to do it all myself. That whole thought process is dangerous, you know, in terms of allowing the openness, you know, to invite others in to help me, to help others.
And you use the word dangerous. Now that is an intentional, and that's a strong word. It's actually dangerous. And I couldn't agree with you more, because in one way it can be dangerous in terms of to your health. You know, as entrepreneurs, you're just overdoing it. And as women already, we try to do all be all. And so that can really impact our health. It's dangerous in the fact that we're playing with our dream, because if we're doing it all by ourselves, there's going to come a point we won't be able to, and it could be the death of our dream. And usually when a dream is planted into us, it's not just a dream that is just something we've thought of alone. I believe, and you mentioned your spiritual, I am as well. I believe that it has a bigger purpose and vision than we can even know. So this is where that trust comes in, to follow our intuition. That dream's been placed in our heart, our soul, for a reason, into our life for a reason, much bigger than we can even imagine. And so to follow that, but the death of that dream, you know, it impacts not just us, but the others around us that would have been blessed and somehow transformed by that dream. Those are just a couple of ways that I do see it as dangerous. So I couldn't agree with you more, Maria.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, that, I don't know where that word came from, but it was, it is absolutely the right word.
Mm-hmm. And I can relate to this too, because I think the other thing is, not only could it cause you to give up on a dream, but it could also prevent you, by not reaching out for help, I'm talking about, it could also prevent you from even starting your dream, which was my situation. I mean, for a long time, I didn't begin simply because I wasn't willing and open, or just didn't know how. It was very uncomfortable. It wasn't a comfortable place for me, because I'm a very independent person. I always do it myself. I've always done it myself, you know. I had to grow up quickly in life, right? And so to kind of not to undo that habit is not easy, until you realize, well, it's going to cost me even more if I don't learn how to receive help. And so thank goodness I did, and thank goodness you did too, Maria. So
yeah, indeed, it's made all the difference in the world, and that I believe that we're not intended to walk the path of this life alone, that other people are put on this earth with us so that they can help us and we can help them, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So why would I, when I thought about it, why would I try to hold it all here and do it all myself, when there are others who are so much better equipped to do some of the things in my business than I am, and who can start to make my business sing, and then, you know, and I can be the conductor of that orchestra.
absolutely, absolutely. And I would love for you to share, because on that note, I know we're wrapping up with our time here. It's been just thoroughly a pleasure to speak with you, Maria. How can people learn more about you and the work that you do?
So probably the best way would be to go to my website, which is transitionandthrivewithmaria.com. transitionandthrivewithmaria.com. And on my website, you will learn about my newest book, from upside down to right side up, turning transition into triumph. And you can read the resources that I create for women in my writing and in my own video conversations with women around the subject of transition.
Excellent, wonderful, and I highly encourage you when you're watching this video, please do check out Maria's resources, her website. Her work is absolutely wonderful, and I'm so happy, Maria, that you are a role model for other women out there who are maybe thinking about entrepreneurship or maybe are entrepreneurs right now. You're just such a wonderful role model by just doing what you're doing. So thank you so much, and thank you for being here with me today.
It is my pleasure and honor. Thank you, Marlene.